come back and see people, and obviously for this honor, you know, is kind of you know, an accumulation of a lot of years, and to, you know, it's pretty humbling, you know, to be going up in the stadium, obviously with all those other great names, and to be going into the College Football Hall of Fame.
Just take us back to that moment where you got that call that you were going to be inducted into the Hall. What was that like for you?
It was great. You know, it's typical fashion. We live up in the mountains, and it was a rough winter, so you're supposed to get a football in the mail. But I got a call from somebody here, and was like, hey, just a heads up. We saw that the weather's bad. You're not going to get your football, but we wanted to let you know if we saw it in the news. But I kind of pulled over, and, you know, I hadn't really thought about it. You know, I knew I'd been on the ballot. It's not something you sit around and think about. And then it really hit me later that day. You know, just the magnitude of it, the few number of guys who have gone in into the Hall of Fame, and then, you know, for me, the being on the Ring of Honor for me is so humbling with the other guys that are on, the other 10 guys and 11 total, you know, with the coach on there. But I think that hit me the most. It's like that's something that will, you know, be up there when I'm far gone. You know, my kids can see. And just here in the state, you know, how proud I am to be from Iowa, to have played here. And, you know, now you get to enjoy it. You know, all my years of playing, you know, college pros, all that, you never really sit and enjoy or bask in it, I should say. But now it's like, okay, wow, you think about it, and, you know, you don't have to move on to something else. It's like, oh, wow, that's, like, this is for real. And then they send a picture of it up there. So, you know, obviously a great honor.
Could you imagine this coming in from East Buchanan, a little skinny tight end, which what became?
Yeah, no, that's you don't, you know. And I wasn't, you know, whether the times are different now, but I wasn't that kid, you know, in high school thinking about going to the pros, right? It was, you know, it's high school football was the biggest thing there was, and then the opportunity to play in college, and, you know, I never, you know, you never think ahead of these things, you know. I don't, you know, I didn't set out as a, you know, starting college to want to be in the Hall of Fame. You know, I wanted to be the best I could be. I wanted to push myself to accomplish, you know, everything and anything. But to think about it now, obviously, it's very humbling, and you know, it's hard to believe, and until you see your name up there, you know, you don't really believe it. It's, you know, a lot of great memories, but it's you know, I'm honored. You know, I've played with a lot of great guys. There's a lot of great guys before me, decades before me, and my name's up there. So obviously very humbled, very thankful for the situation here. I mean, because the reality is those things don't happen if you don't have good teams, good coaches, good teammates. You know, all the linemen I played with, you know, the teams we had, that's the reality of making those things happen. So I'm very thankful for all those guys that were a part of my career.
How'd you go from a little skinny tight end to 325 pounds by the time you graduated?
Yeah, you know, it's funny to look back on, because it was, you know, I had the frame. Obviously, I wasn't a big, highly recruited guy. I sent out my own VHS tapes in high school, you know, after my brother Nick had gotten a scholarship here, and I want to do this, you know. I want a chance to if I'm good enough, and sent my own tapes out, and, you know, you just work. You come in, and a lot of it is, you know, the situation too. You know, luckily I was, I think it was fate that came in with, you know, Coach Ferentz, Coach Doyle that first year. We built the program, you know, the new group, the right people in my life coaching me, and just, you know, just the never-ending want to be as good as you could. That's, you know, you look back about what you did, and now you think about it, and, you know, it's just it was instilled, you know, from my parents, and then seeing my brothers and sisters have athletic success, to I want to be as good as I can be. Now, what is that? I have no idea, right? But every day it was just you know, the grind of every single day. And, you know, I told some people the reality is I wasn't that talented. You know, like, I mean, there's guys, you know, that can get out of bed, walk on the field, and are just technicians, right? Their athletic abilities through the roof. I had to work for it, you know, not that everybody doesn't work for it, but I was not a guy. I mean, I had to rep after rep. I remember in college, even into my senior year, you know, before games, just taking steps and hand placement, and it was every day, because that's, you know, that's who I was. I wasn't a guy that could just, yep, you know, I'm not going to practice for a week, and then I'm just going to go out there and it'll be flawless. So I think that part of it is the most meaningful for me is, you know, the work that you went into. You know, I'm very thankful, and yes, I had some athletic ability, but the work I had to put in is the things I remember the most.
You've kind of gotten back to being a skinny tight end right now. Do Hawkeye fans even recognize you when they see you out here?
Yeah, not a lot. You know, it's a haircut and 60 pounds of weight loss, but you know, it's the same thing. You don't lose. That's what I tell my kids. You don't lose that grind, that stuff you learned, right? All these things, and I'm sure they get tired of me talking, but it's like eating right and working out and like feeling good and being at your best, right? My job now is to be at my best as a parent, as physically, mentally, and you don't lose those things you learned in college, especially and even before that. But that work ethic, not late for, that's those things that you can't get rid of, right? I never missed a meeting in my life, was never late, and I know my kids think I'm crazy, but it's the same thing, right? Whether we're going to the school bus or what, you are early. And I think it's great stuff, right? It's life lessons. So it's a lot of things I took from, all those years of playing that are still with me.
When you committed, was Hayden or Kirk the head coach when you committed?
Hayden was.
Hayden
Yeah.
was.
Coach Elliott recruited me.
Okay,
Yep. And then obviously Hayden retired, and I was, for a little bit there was wondering what was going to happen, but then got a call from Coach Farron's staff, and so it was, they kept the scholarship offer, but I was definitely recruited before Coach had been hired.
Do you think much about the move from tight end off and how it changed your life?
Yeah, I mean, I think I knew it was coming. I mean,
so when you committed, you thought eventually you'd end up being an offensive lineman?
I think I was smart enough at that point. Not that I was that smart. That I was 6'7", had a huge frame,
okay,
and was not. I was fast for, for who I was, but I knew, with my frame and build, and then the strength staff, and then when I started putting weight on and muscle, I figured at some point. I didn't really think about it. I know when's this going to happen, because obviously it happened 3 games into my redshirt freshman year, and I was, scared, because it was, I'm going into, I think Illinois is my first game as a lineman against, Fred Wakefield was the All-American defensive end, so I don't think I was ready for it, but I figured at some point it might happen. But I was also just like, tell me what to do. It was, when I got the opportunity at tight end, and then, the weight was coming on, and, I think the writing was a little bit on the wall, but I didn't really think about it until they asked, and I was like, yes, sir, let's get it done.
3 games into the 2000 season is when they
Correct.
Okay.
Yep.
And they made the switch.
Yep.
You remember the Buick La Saber and driving that around the '84,
Yeah.
and what you do for a living now is kind of unique, huh?
Yeah, no, I've always loved the old cars, and that car, kind of took on a life of its own, when I was here, and actually drove it in Oakland for a while till it was laid to rest.
What'd your teammates say in Oakland?
Well, they figured out that's who I was, right? Yeah. Like that was like it wasn't flashy. It wasn't, that's the type of guy I was, and I still love it. I love the old classic car stuff. I've got obviously doing some stuff with those now, but it was fun. It was like part of like the little bit of the being able to show who you were, a little bit of your personality. So it was obviously fond memories of all that.
Do you remember the nickname of the car?
We called it the Hoopty. I don't know what everybody else called it. Yeah, the seat was all bent back, had some hubcaps on it. Yeah, that thing took on a life of its own.
How do you view your pro career? I mean, I think your first year, didn't you have like a torn groin and you were trying to play and playing in a system that was about 20 years too old?
Yeah, I mean, that's the good and bad of being drafted where I was. You go to, organizations, obviously from the year before that, with the worst records, but, you're, would have I like to been in the playoffs and won Super Bowls and done a bunch of other things that I, had my sights set on? Absolutely. But the reality is, I had 5 head coaches in 7 years in Oakland, and it's that's the great thing about, and why I think it's so reminiscent here is, the longevity of Coach Farron's. Like, you're in one system, and that was the type of player I was, like the same system, working with the same guys, and that's why I think it's such a big thing to have Coach Farron's around so long. And the pro, it's a business, and like you said, there's injuries, there's things that happen. So of course we're all competitive. We want to write the story all the way to the end. But I'm very blessed to have played as long as I did and learned the things I did, met the people I met. So very proud of it.
Well, I know when you played for but 2 Hall of Fame tackles, if I recall. That Art Shell was the head coach, and then Jackie Slater. Yeah, was your. And then here, you know, I guess does it equate that maybe if you're a great player, you're not always a great coach, and a great teacher, the way maybe Kirk is?
Yeah, I mean, I think it goes, you know, for me, the system, the techniques that Coach Ferentz taught. Yeah, those guys were great players, and you know, they were there for a year. You know, it's hard. Like like I said, I'm that guy. It's not just getting off the bus, getting out of bed, ready to play. You know, like the longevity of being in a system and learning the finer techniques, and then, you know, other guys come in, especially in the pros, come in, oh, do it this way. You got to do it this way. This is how we do it. You know, so there's you know, there's a lot goes into it, right? And then there's, you know, it's team-wise, right? It's like good teams, good things happen. It's easy when your team's good. You know, you look good. So it's yeah, it's all seems like so long ago now.
Yeah. How special is this to have your family here and to share this with everybody?
Well, you know, obviously it's huge with my kids here, and you know, Becca being back here with you know, watching the women's basketball success they've had. So you know, my siblings, you know, who have you know, my brothers have played here, my sister did track here. So to have everybody here, it's obviously it means a lot. Like, it's time to enjoy it, and very proud to have everyone here with me.
Is there something you really appreciate about having a connection to both Hayden and Kirk? Not a lot of players can say that.
Yeah, no, it's you know, I because of my brother Nick, you know, I got to know Coach Fry and his staff. So just to, you know, it's pretty crazy to think that you know, 2 coaches since before, you know, I was here, you know, and that I have been here, you know, for that many years. So. And 2 great coaches. You know, I've obviously a lot of great stuff to say about Coach Ferentz, and Coach Fry, obviously legendary. So it's yeah, a very big honor.
With your 3 kids over there, any future athletes among that group? Anybody starting to shine? Either football, basketball, anything?
Yeah, they love it all. You know, they love doing everything, and we try not, you know, both of us being ex-athletes, it's hard not to push them into something that we want them to do. So we're letting them do it. They love it. They love everything. You know, we told them we'll give them every opportunity they want if they want to do it. But it's hard, right? Because you know too much as an athlete, as an ex-athlete, right? So, you know, they're talking about nutrition. You know, I'm sure they get, you know, like, Dad, I'm 8, like, right? You know, but it's, you know, you don't get rid of that stuff. So we're excited. If it's something they want to do, you better believe we're all for giving them that opportunity.
There's another guy that's drawn some comparisons to you over at East Buchanan right now with Cody Fox. Have you had a chance to talk to him at all, or, you know, teach him some things, or tell him about that transition to college level?
I've talked to him a few times, yeah. You know, it's cool to see young guys now, you know, have success, and kids come from your high school, that small little town back there that, you know, I think my brother Nick put on the map, you know, and then my sister and myself, and now there's kids, you know, the Fox kids coming in here, getting scholarships. So it's great to go back and you know, kind of share with those guys if they want to know, and if not, it's like everybody learns their own thing.
How have you stayed in shape? You talked about working out. Are you running? What are you doing to maintain this weight? It's pretty impressive.
Yeah, I mean, like when I was here, it's work.
Yeah.
For me, it's eating right. It's, you know, it's a routine. Like, you don't lose certain things of what you do. Like, you know, I figured out what works for me to be at my peak health. You know, and I'm a guy. I get up at 4 o'clock in the morning. I do my workout. I do my stuff. And for me, it's really just, you know, you learn. You can't eat certain things. But I work at it. Again, it's not just like, oh, I was done playing and it worked. Like, I do it every day, right? I'm up at 4, do my workout by 4:45. You can't get rid of that routine, which is a blessing and a curse.
What do you weigh right now?
I'm about 270. Yep.
I don't know, you look that.
Do you still work on cars? Is that still kind of your hobby?
Yeah, I enjoy it, and the little time I have. So the classic car stuff, you know, buying and selling, finding stuff for guys, and then doing you know, with all of our kids' activities. I've got some befriended over the years, some retired Navy SEALs, military special ops guys that I'm doing some stuff with them for some organizations they have. Supporting them just for so met a lot of great people, and then able to do a lot of that volunteer stuff, and you know, we're coaching the 8th grade girls basketball team in Tahoe, and all those things that it's fun to be a part of your kid's life, and then these organizations, like I said, that I like to support and be a part of, and have the time to do that.
As honorary captain, what's going to be your message to this year's team?
I haven't thought of that yet. I'm not good at like preparing speeches. Everybody, comments how, good at them. They make me anxious. It's usually like go in there and figure it out. Whatever comes to mind. There's been a lot going through my head. Obviously, there's a lot. I think times have changed since I played, and there's so much more media and scrutiny, and everybody has a comment, and whether it's social media, and I think of what these kids go through. So it's hard to get away from that. Having empathy for these kids, because it's a lot, right? It's a lot for a grown man to deal with. A professional player. So I don't know. I think they put the work in, and we'll see. I could talk to them tomorrow, see them at practice tomorrow. But it's it brings back memories of what we went through, and like I said, the grind of all the scrutiny. Coming off a bad game or a good game, and it's at the end of the day, they're kids, right? And everybody wants to be good, right? And so I'm excited to see him, and we'll see what comes up.
You were mentioning really being appreciative of Coach Ferentz. What's kind of your favorite, or what's the thing that you're most appreciative of him for?
I think that he's never wavered. I mean, he is who he is. He's been the same guy for 25 years. Still talk to him, he's the same guy, and we have the same conversations. We have similar conversations as we did 15 years ago. And I think he's been consistent as a head coach. I owe a lot to him. I owe a lot to Chris Doyle, Reese Morgan, these guys that coach me. And they've never wavered, right? There's been ups and downs, like every one of us, right? All of our careers, there's been ups and downs. So I just think the consistency of who he is, he truly cares. He's obviously, as he's gotten older, like myself, that stuff means more. You show it a little bit more. So I just think he's a great human being, on top of a legendary coach, and how he treats people,